Hello, Dharma Circle. Welcome to Wednesday Live here. I'm Swati, the Embodied Dharma Coach, and I have a special guest with me today. As soon as she joins, we'll add her in. Angelica is a current client of mine. It's been absolutely amazing to witness her growth over the last year and to see her go from already being a successful healer and jumping into leadership. And there she is. I'm going to add her right now and let's get you started. Angelica, welcome. Has been an incredible client over the last year, and I've been privileged to witness her growth and her leadership blossom over the last many months. So, welcome, Angelica. I'm so glad to see you
Hi.
today. You're an Instagram pro, so you can probably teach me a few things about this. We're going to hope that all goes well today. I'm glad to have you
Thank
here.
you. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm still working on IG Live. Can you hear me okay? Because last time my AirPods don't work anymore with IG Lives.
I can hear you, and hopefully, can you hear me
Yeah,
all right?
really good.
Okay, awesome. So, I was just sharing about your journey over the last year and what a pleasure it's been to witness you go from already being a successful healer, but really blossoming into your expanded leadership,
Mm.
being an empowered leader. And so, I'd love to take our viewers through that process and this journey that you've been on, blossoming into more empowerment, more visibility, and the courage that I've witnessed in you to really lean into your fears and the resistance and these qualities that many healers may actually
Mm.
miss or resist in their own journey. And in fact, a lot of what you've been growing in over the last year um, is fabulous ground, incredible ground for many other healers to even do a self audit or a check in. Like maybe I'm missing something, or maybe there's something in the way of my business growth, my body elevation. Um, so take us, first of all, through your journey over the last many months. You came to me, again, already successful, wonderful healing practice. You are an Ayurvedic practitioner, very gifted in your Ayurvedic wisdom. You are a Reiki master. You have your own podcast. You have a remarkable following on social media. And you also help spiritual business owners cultivate successful offerings and create their own successful businesses. And so it seemed like you had it all together and you didn't really need anything at that point. But when you came to me, something was missing.
Mm.
So help us understand, even though you have had all this success so far, what felt like it was missing for you in your body? And how did your body let you
Mm.
know that something was missing?
Well, thank you for that intro, Swati. I always feel so seen and heard by you, so thank you. Yeah,
Hmm.
I came to you. It's funny how I like remember things in hindsight, but I asked my guides I needed help. I was in my business, and actually, although maybe my following on Instagram, I think I had just reached 10K, and that was still growing. Outwards appearances may have seen that I was, very successful in my business, but really my business was at a hold. It was stagnant and it wasn't moving forward. The things that I was trying, the effort that I was putting, I have a strong Mars, so I'm always taking action. So I was always putting in all this effort and trying all these new things, coming up with solutions, but I wasn't getting in the clients. I wasn't getting in the consistent income that I needed. And I was so confused. I didn't understand why I
Hmm.
wasn't moving forward. And again, I'm such a creative solution oriented person. I truly tried everything within the resources that I had. So I remember asking my guides to bring forward I didn't even know if I necessarily asked for a mentor. I think I had grief from my last mentor that I still had to digest. So I just wanted guidance.
Mm,
I needed guidance out of that, of what am I not seeing? And I felt within me, my body,
mm,
that it was something that I was blinded to. I knew it was something
mm,
that could be simpler, and I just couldn't see it. And
mm,
that was more frustrating because it was like the answer is right here, and I feel so close to it. It feels like everything that I want in my business, all this abundance, it feels like it's around me, and yet I can't touch it.
mm,
And in my body,
mm,
as a healer, you'll see this message show up all the time. That's how we got into the healing sciences to begin with. So I had adrenal fatigue, reproductive imbalances. I have this chronic condition of amenorrhea coming back up to line. And then, that was so out of balance for a long time. I was even starting to put on weight. And that was, the
mm,
grief showing up in all these different ways. So my
mm,
body was speaking to me, and I was like, there needs to be a shift happening. And as we know, our body and our business are one and the same. And I knew it was so linked together.
mhm.
And it was so funny because you were like the perfect mentor, so specific in what I had asked for that came through because I had wanted to learn about Vedic astrology and on a deeper level than I was really getting. And I had wanted to expand my business. I wasn't honestly expecting to get it all one and the same. You happened to pop up. And so I remember going through one of your challenges, and I got this great sense of clarity of, oh, I know what I need to do and to focus on. For me specifically, I was focusing on the membership that I wanted to put up and running. I was focusing on this community that I wanted to build. I was focusing on the podcast. My energy was spread too thin. I lost focus of what my main offering was that was going to drive my business. And I
Mm,
see this with a lot of, I'm working with clients now on this, where they have all these ideas and they want to have all of that in place, but unless they have that thing that's really driving their business and truly that is getting their soul witness to be seen the most visible, they're not going to get there. So you helped me
mm,
in that challenge to hone in, to come back to that offering. And that was the tip of the iceberg of me realizing that I've had this vision all along to bring that main offering here. However, what was getting in the way at the time was I was in this partnership where they had their own visions that they wanted to bring to life that wasn't aligned with mine anymore. And so
mm,
it was in our first one-on-one that the veil was lifted, and it was something that I truly would not have seen without guidance. It's the perfect example of how a guru is someone who can shed light on something I knew. You weren't telling me to do something that I didn't already know, but you were shedding light on
mm,
something that I was so not willing to see, like truly refusing to see that step forward, which for me in
mm,
that situation was to break apart from the partnership so that we can foster our own growth and truly have our own visions.
mm. So let's pause there for a moment because I think this is where, well, I'm sure you see it. I see it all the time. A lot of healers get stuck with the visibility. When we're talking about increasing our visibility, we're talking about increasing our power and the amount of power we have access to, our life force energy. It's an
Mm,
upgrade. And inevitably, when we create more visibility or we step into more visibility, that power shift restructures our relationships.
mm,
So when you first came to me, and actually we met through Jyotish,
mm.
and I was invited to be on your podcast. That's actually
That's
how
true.
we
That's
first
true.
met. It was incredible.
That's true.
And that was a great way to build our relationship. Um, but when we had that first conversation, it struck me that there was a desire for more energy and actually expanding your visibility, stepping into more life force. And yet there was something keeping that from happening. And I'm inviting others to just lean into this. With more visibility, more power, what relationships would have to change? What relationships might not like it? And this could be living or dead. Where is the fear of losing someone
Mm,
or something that might get in the way of you stepping into more power,
Mm.
more visibility, because that's what your Dharma is really requesting. It's an inevitable part of the Dharmic path. So that's where you were, and you were at a crossroads. And I remember it well. It's like, I want this, but attraction, repulsion. And so your body knew that if I'm to step into more power and more of my purpose, I'm going to lose this really important relationship in my life. Not only that, this incredibly successful business I've already
Mm.
built is going to have to be restructured too. So there's a double loss that's happening with this power upgrade. So, what did you learn in that process? And how has that shifted you and the way that you've moved forward, Angelica? Because it's actually, I mean, I just want to honor your
Mm.
courage and your willingness, because that was a terrifying moment
Thank you. It
for
was
you.
extremely terrifying. It felt like my world was crumbling. And you beautifully pointed out as we were looking at my astrology chart why it felt so deep to me and how my mind was blown in this one-on-one that we first had because I saw the
Mm,
link of how this relationship mirrored the relationship I still needed to heal with my mother and how this pattern had been repeated over and over again. So that kind of helped me understand this isn't new here. This
mm,
isn't new territory. This
mm.
is a story that's been here before. And now I
Yeah.
need to pattern disrupt. I need to choose differently in order to
Mm,
grow. And I'm not willing to
mhm,
accept this anymore. I know what happens when I stay in that. I know how it doesn't allow me to shine my light. And it really, you
mm,
just have to come back to your why of if I'm going to be here and be able to express the way that I'm doing things, I have to change the way. Like to me, I had no other choice, and that's kind of almost what hurt the
mm,
most. Is like I knew
mm,
I had to move forward with it because when you're, and the voice of my intuition was just so strong. I knew nothing else except the ego mind and knowing the ramifications and knowing how it would hurt other people and being attached to that other person's emotions so deeply where I felt like I could feel exactly that they were feeling. That's how enmeshed it was. It was a painful
mm,
experience. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was painful and it was a deep lesson that I had to learn. And I am so grateful because I think I needed that pain at that point in my life. I was so stuck and stagnant that if I didn't experience that pain, it wouldn't have driven me to build and rebuild my business the way that I wanted to on my terms. And this undeniable force that can just like float underneath your wings and really guide you throughout the process was so beautiful of how I had been struggling and like squaring around whole for so long until I finally
mm,
went into alignment and started following what my intuition wanted and started trusting my visions and making myself more visible, how
mm,
much more easier things can align. Yes, it was, difficult having to go through the legalities of it, but to go through and understand that I had to learn all the things that I was scared about learning in my business and to feel empowered after that, like I was almost on a high at those months because I just came alive. I felt like a part of me could all be seen and witnessed. And I'm so grateful for the strength that it built on my business.
mhm. Yeah. So through that grief process, in fact, and the willingness to explore where you were hiding, and you were hiding through this business partnership, um, you had unique gifts, and you have this desire to be front and
Mm,
center, front stage. And there was a part of you that hadn't fully accepted or honored
mm,
that desire to really be seen and heard and visible and really center of attention. And yet there was a relationship structure that wasn't truly allowing
mm-hmm.
that. And that mirrored some very old stories and patterns and dynamics and behaviors. And I think this is a powerful story for other healers to hear. And I'm inviting other healers who are watching this to pay attention and notice where they might be holding themselves back for other people,
Totally.
holding their own power back suppressing their own power and visibility, self-expression in order to keep the
Mm.
peace or to keep relationships, maintain the status quo even. Because this is a huge factor when it comes to stepping into power and purpose. And I heard you say that it's like you didn't even have a choice. That's a good indication of we're walking a dharmic path, in fact. You know, I often say when all the doors close and there's only one left to walk through, and it's the one that terrifies you the most, probably a good chance that uh, it's dharmic on some level. And you did that, and you did it really gracefully. And I think there's a piece here about grief that we need to talk
Mm.
about. And you've also mentioned how Jyotish was very instrumental in kind of taking the blinders
Hmm.
off and being like, well, shoot, I can't deny what my trauma work is and what the shadow and grief work really is. And of course, you were ready for that. That, you know, that's to your credit and your soul's credit. But walk us through a little bit of that, you know, the grief work that had to be done,
Mm.
facing that trauma, and how the Jyotish chart radically shifted that clarity for you.
So when I first learned my Vedic uh, chart and I learned about my moon in Scorpio and how it was debilitated, I always knew that was a part of my chart that I needed to focus on. And so for those listening, Scorpio kind of does represent, trauma, going through trauma, and specifically related to mother, mind, and emotions. So I knew there was definitely that's my part of my life's work is healing emotions and connecting back to
Mm-hmm.
body. And so when I learned that my moon was in the seventh house, and the seventh house is of relationships and business partnerships and contracts and things like that. Um, when I learned that, I could see from that tool, the seventh house, that I have this pattern of having these type of relationships. And it's so interesting because I talk about it with my friends who, maybe not use this jargon and consider themselves spiritual, but I see this a lot with women that they recreate these maybe unhealed relationships that they have with mother and project it onto new relationships. And more so, I see it from
Mm-hmm.
the lens of codependency, where these two women are in relationship with each other and like very close and almost like that motherly reliance on because someone can really understand them. Um, and so like I saw it was like just so striking to me to see how I had this pattern of getting really close to someone and then somehow feeling like I had to dim my light in order for that other person to feel visible and seen. And that was
Mm-hmm.
basically the theme of it. And when I noticed how that was being put in different relationships and how this relationship was so similar to it, and seeing that being reflected in the Jyotish chart, it was just like the most wild thing that I could ever describe, honestly. But it gave me so much
Mm-hmm.
solace in knowing my pattern and feeling like I had power over it. Because I think a lot of times we think, why is this happening to me again? And I even said that. That was part of my grief process of why I can't believe I let this happen again. But now that I was able to have
Mm-hmm.
that heightened sense of awareness of knowing that, I'm so much, it's just a greater, more of awareness, so I know not to repeat it again. So I think that gave me, that's where that empowerment piece came for me.
Mm, mm, mm. And I also want to just highlight that even being able to talk about this and be seen publicly in this very vulnerable story and experience that you've been going through over the last year, that's part of the upgrade. Because, you know, for many people, these deep vulnerabilities are connected to so much shame.
Mm.
Like, I don't want anyone to know. I don't want to talk about this publicly. And I'm not suggesting we have to share everything or, you know, air our dirty laundry out. But that's been a noticeable shift that I want to acknowledge for you is that in this process of doing your grief work and your
Mm.
trauma work and owning your vulnerability, it's now safer to be seen in, hey, I'm imperfect. I've made some choices that now I've had to change, and I want to move forward in a different way. And it's been painful, but I'm also open to loving and accepting my
Mm,
journey and myself. And maybe this can be helpful for
mm,
others. And what have you discovered, through our work together and certainly through our Jyotish work together? How has this upgraded the way you work with clients, this seeing of
mm,
yourself, the knowing of what your stuff is, your own personal mythology? How's that shifted the client that you
mm.
attract and how you serve your clients?
In every way. So thank you for the reminder of how important grief rituals are. That was another reason why I was attracted to your work, because you kept talking about grief and I knew nothing of the sort. But I don't know why I was so fascinated about it. And I was like, I want to learn more. Like, what is this grief you speak of? And so that's what was I was really drawn to, which is interesting. And when I learned how beautiful the ritual of grief is and doing it in community and just being so raw that first time, that first ritual was like a week or so I was in everything. And I mean, just I could not believe, and even more on screen, but just being witnessed by women to seeing and acknowledge and accepting this part of myself that I've never shown
Mm,
in front of anyone. We talk about
mm,
trauma as, who did you cry to when you were younger? And very much so, I felt like I'd always did in hiding, and I still even, talk about that. I like to just process it on my own, and it's so different being able to be
mm,
witnessed that it's okay, and it releases the shame. So just physically in my body, so much clearer, the channels are clear when you do digest this grief, like joy. And I can't believe it, like it really does allow you to hold so much more space for joy. The heaviness that I've been feeling in this like weight suddenly felt just, a little bit lifted. It's not like it was totally night and day, but I felt like I could breathe more and more. And from that place of expansion from within, that's where the clarity came from. And then my ideas and my intuition can have more places to land. And then I started to guide that into the visions of my business and starting to grow it and expand it. And that
mm,
just happened. So it all kind of interworks together that way. And then as far as the client that I am attracting, I feel like with every cycle that I do my own inner healing work, I become more honed in on attracting my most ideal client, the most perfect people I want to work with. And I am so grateful. I always get it's incredible. One of the gifts of Instagram is being able to connect with all these people from all over the world. And I get
so
angels,
true.
I just did a 5-day challenge and I was like, oh my God, everyone in here is just angels that I get to work with. People who are so passionate about what they do and they have so heart-centered missions and they just want to bring it to the world and are ready to do the work. In the past, maybe when I first started out in Ayurveda, I felt like I was trying to get people to understand Ayurveda. And now it's not like that. There's not that pushing. It's more of an attraction that I've always heard from people that it would be like this when you're in alignment, you can just attract people. I never quite understood the mechanics, but that really is how it works when you are in alignment, when you do the grief work, when you release those type of blockages, it does happen so much easier.
Mm, so true. So true. And obviously, you're reaping the benefits of the deep inner work, doing the labor, and making space for the ease and the joy. And the thing that was in the way was um, having the courage to face this deep vulnerability of
Mm,
loneliness and restructuring relationships. And, you know, this is a powerful story, Angelica, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you to share with the community because I know others are going through a similar story as well. And even successful healers like yourself still we have layers
hmm
to tend to, and we need to be honest about those layers and how the layers can get stuck or keep us stuck from moving into even more nourishment. And you're a powerful example of that when you're willing and have the courage to face the deep fear and vulnerability. It opens us up to even more nourishment, joy, and pleasure. So, thank you for sharing with us. I wonder if there's anything else that you want to add. You're actually a unique client in that you've been through every phase of my process so far, and entry level offerings all the way into year long mentorship. Um, I know the Jyotish resources are particularly helpful and poignant for you. Um, the structure, the business
Hmm.
offerings, the portion of the mentorship, because we do everything in that work. Is there anything that feels important in terms of our Dharma mentorship work that you think others could benefit from?
Yeah, at all. I think the balance that you have between doing the inner work and then taking aligned action, like this true marriage of divine feminine and masculine energy, is really beautiful because I feel like
Mm,
sometimes you get one or the other with it. So that's why I
mm,
like that you emphasize today talking about the inner work because so much can change once you do release those blocks, but it's not all of that because I know some women can get
that's
stuck
true.
into that. And so you giving me the business tools and again, like I've taken programs before. I'm a business marketing major. Like I have business skills, but learning it from this dharmic
You do.
way is different. And having someone who's been
Mm,
through it and understands it was so helpful. So definitely those resources are helpful. And I think the ones that feel most unique to your process that really opened to me is the expressive arts. And that
mm,
helped me to heal emotionally a lot.
mm,
Specifically, I really
mm,
got into coloring and drawing, back into my writing and writing in a way where there's no
mm.
expectation. That's what I love when you teach about the expressive arts because I grew up as a dancer, so I
That's
love
right.
movement. I love expressing that in my body. Yet there was always an expectation, or who is this going to impress, or who is this for, rather than this art is for me.
Mm,
And you getting back to that with processing it through emotionally so that my emotions can actually be witnessed. I've never been able to process emotions that deep because of putting it into art. So I truly do love
mm,
that piece of you using the expressive arts, and you use all of them. You use sound. Um, Sound is really important for me too, as we talk about visibility and throat chakra, how it's all
mm.
linked.
Yeah.
I think that really opened me up. I started going to more kirtans and singing and mantra again, and it's so cleansing for me. So it is very cool how just these resources can really start to inspire and light up other parts of you that and bring in wholeness. So I guess wholeness is what, if I
Mm.
could sum it up,
Wholeness.
wholeness is what I feel.
Yeah, and so just quickly, what's the ripple effect of
Mm.
that for body and business?
Yeah, so I've been so grateful for this expansion in my business. I feel like as soon as
Mm,
I was able to be visible in who I was and going after my visions, it was like immediate magnetism. My social media account
mm,
grew. I think it was like 8K in 4 months. And that wouldn't usually
mm.
matter unless it was translated to clients and I got clients. I filled my program, which felt like lugging around bags of coal for so long. I
And increase your pricing, I might add.
yes, and I did that. Um, I
So proud of you.
I started my whole business again. So I had to restart my membership and I filled up my membership again.
Mm,
And getting in brand partnerships and how easier these things kind of flow to me. That's what I noticed too. It's like it's less than me feeling oh, I have to try and put so much energy into it, but how can I just embody who I am and truly start to attract those things and those opportunities coming my way? So I feel like so many opportunities have come
mm,
my way for that because I'm finally at the vibration that I want to be at. And so I'm meeting those opportunities where they're at, and then I get to decide in my own nervous system what feels like
mm,
a yes and what feels like a no. Um,
totally. Yeah. And that's a huge upgrade to be able to really feel that what is my
mm,
yes and what is my no. I want to honor that. I want to highlight that. For many of you healers, that might not be fully clear
mm,
yet. So let's honor that this is a huge part of our power and how we use our power. So, how can people find you and what are you working on right now, Angelica? What's the what's the best way for someone to connect with you and work with you?
Well, right now, if you just check out my Instagram page, that's where I have all my information and wisdom. I give lots of free stuff out because I just love connecting with everyone. So if you want daily inspiration, I post on there every day. And right now, I'm really focused. I'm so passionate about women getting to grow their own spiritual businesses. And so everything that I've learned, I am putting into this offering that I'll
Hmm.
be coming out and sharing more next week. putting the final touches
Hmm.
on it, but it's something that I've kind of been doing behind the scenes for a few years, working with women, helping them to step into their Dharma. I find that a lot with Ayurveda education programs. Everyone learns the skills and tools to become a good healer, which is super important, but that business piece is really missing and so needed in order for you to be visible.
Mm,
So I've been working on something in the background
100%.
on that. In the meantime, if you're wanting to grow your social media account, I have my 5-day challenge to grow your spiritual social media account and start attracting clients. And you can find more at the link
Yay.
in the bio.
And we will definitely link to you, Angelica. And I highly recommend you check out that 5-day challenge and see what Angelica's next offering is. She's going to be packing a lot of powerful insights and resources in that. And I know you deliver in such a supportive, nourishing way. So do check out Angelica's offerings and, you know, whether you're already successful and you're looking to expand into the next level of your success, consider what is really in the
Mm.
way of that. What is that fear or resistance? Maybe it's trauma, maybe it's grief, maybe it's a combination of the two. Um, and as Angelica's reminded us today, Jyotish can be a immensely powerful resource for that excavation, that clarity. What's really here that I'm
Mm.
missing or I don't want to see? And truly, Jyotish is bringing light to the soul. If we use it properly, if we're in right relationship with this tool, and the consciousness of the Jyotishi is truly attuned to supporting this soul, the evolution of the soul, and their own healing and dharmic process. So if you're interested in receiving more of my Jyotish resources and my upcoming Jyotish course that's coming out, um, comment heal below and I will follow up with you personally and give you all the insights about that Jyotish course. And perhaps you can have an experience like Angelica, an upgrade, some insight, some awareness about um, expanding your practice as a healer and creating more success in body and business, spiritually and materially.
Can
Type heal below. And
I
yeah, we want to add
yeah, I
something,
want to add
Angelica?
something because I could go on, but like truly the way that you teach Jyotish is so different than anyone I've ever experienced before. The way that you are rooted in Dharma and the way that you don't use it as a predictive science by any means. You use it to really empower that person and the like deeper subconscious, even psychic insights that you give that is truly expressed from you embodying this wisdom is something that I've never experienced before. And the amount of depth, if you think you've dug into Georges before and you want to go deeper, there's no other person out there that
Oh,
does it. So truly, I feel blessed to have you as my mentor.
oh, well, of course, it's such a pleasure to walk with you as always, and to witness your success is just the biggest gift to me. But I do want to add that from one Scorpio moon to another, yes, it's a good fit, and it's true that perhaps our special connection enhances that, but the depth and the insight that can come when we use Jyotish as a healing resource, rooted in body, trauma informed, and really honoring the highest intention of Jyotish, which is Dharma, then we can have these powerful awakenings. So it's an honor to walk with you, Angelica, to see your success over this past year. And may it be of benefit. I'm glad my resources are helping you shine even brighter. And we'll make sure to link to you and do check out Angelica's work and sign up for her 5-day challenge and her new course. And type heal below if you'd like any more details about my Jyotish resources, body and business resources. All right, everyone, it's been wonderful to do this Wednesday live and see you here today, Angelica. We'll tag those of you who wanted the replay below, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.